The story opens with Cameron, who's watching the football finals between the Saviors and Atlanta Manson along with his parents. The game is intense. The Saviors are down by just 1 point, and the tension couldn't be higher. In the final seconds, the Saviors managed to turn the tables and claim victory by that single point. But just as the crowd erupts in celebration, tragedy strikes. Isaiah White, Cameron's hero, suffers a terrible leg injury. Seeing the sadness on his son's face, Cameron's father gently reminds him that nothing great comes without sacrifice, and encourages him to stay strong and focused. 14 years later, Isaiah White has become a living legend in football, not just winning 1 or 2 titles, but leading the Saviors to 8 championships. Yet his glorious career now stands at its twilight. Rumors swirl everywhere. Will Isaiah play one last season? Meanwhile, Cameron has grown into a rising football star himself, finally stepping into the spotlight. One evening, while practicing alone on his old hometown field, Cameron's former coach stops by for a quick greeting before heading off. Cameron takes a few shots, and as the ball rolls back slowly, he bends down to pick it up, when suddenly someone strikes him on the head from behind. Later, doctors inform his mother that the injury is severe. One more blow to the head could end his life. Despite this terrifying warning, Cameron refuses to quit. He joins a professional team, but soon the media catches wind of his condition. Everywhere, people are asking, "Can Cameron still play?" Before an important press conference, his mother begs him once again to reconsider. But Cameron stays firm. He's worked his entire life for this chance, and he won't let it slip away. At the press event, his manager tries to downplay the incident, calling it just a minor injury. Later, as Cameron walks alone down a dark alley, lost in thought, a strange tribal man approaches him and marks his own forehead with Cameron's team symbol, a creepy and confusing moment that leaves Cameron shaken. A few days later, at a party, Cameron tries to relax but can't. The fear of his head injury keeps haunting him. Overwhelmed and frustrated, he snaps at his friends. Then, out of nowhere, he gets a call. Not from a fan or his manager, but from Isaiah White himself. Isaiah invites him to a private location for a special training session. Though hesitant, Cameron remembers his late father's words and decides to go. When he arrives, strange fans are waiting for him in an empty, eerie area. They eventually drop him off at an isolated house. Inside, Cameron discovers Isaiah's trophies, awards, and a series of disturbing photographs lining the walls. Inside a dimly lit room decorated with strange hunting trophies, Isaiah White finally greets Cameron with a warm smile. But Cameron can't help noticing Isaiah's unusual obsession with hunting. Curious, he listens as Isaiah begins to explain his philosophy, how the ancient rivalry between Native Americans and whites shaped not only history, but even the spirit of football itself. According to Isaiah, the Native Americans were agile and clever, while the whites were strong and ruthless. He claims that this no phones, no distractions, no pleasures, and no weakness. From now on, it's only football. And with that, Cameron's intense training begins. He practices long throws, sharpens his aim, and builds endurance day after day. Isaiah introduces him to Marco, a physiotherapist responsible for checking if Cameron is fit enough for upcoming matches. Not long after, Cameron meets Elise, Isaiah's sister, a confident and graceful businesswoman who welcomes him kindly. During recovery, Cameron steps into an ice bath and suddenly notices something strange. Isaiah is sitting nearby, receiving a blood transfusion. The sight disturbs him, and before he can process it, Marco injects something into Cameron's arm that clouds his thoughts and dulls his senses. The next day, training gets harsher. Endless endurance drills push Cameron to his limit until he collapses, throwing up and gasping for breath. Then out of nowhere, he hallucinates, seeing a woman in a red dress charging at him with a weapon. He snaps back to reality, trembling. Isaiah gives him 1 week to build stamina, while Marco keeps injecting him with mysterious substances. Soon, a new drill begins. Cameron must catch and pass the ball within 2 seconds, or else his teammate will take a brutal hit to the face. The psychological pressure crushes him. He hesitates, and his teammate gets hurt. Blood spills, Isaiah shouts at him. Focus! If you don't, people die. Terrified, Cameron forces himself to focus. This time, he succeeds. But Isaiah's behavior keeps getting stranger, making Cameron more suspicious. When Cameron's old stitches reopen, Isaiah pushes things even further, locking him inside a high-pressure chamber. The pressure hits 50 psi. His mind begins to twist. Hallucinations flood in, but he keeps pushing himself through the pain. Later, Isaiah tests his leadership. During full-contact drills, his men hit Cameron brutally, trying to break his spirit. Isaiah yells at him to remember his father. Find your strength! Bleeding and furious, Cameron finally fights back, headbutting an opponent so hard that the man is seriously injured. Impressed, Isaiah praises him, his faith in Cameron now stronger than ever. That night, Cameron can barely sleep. Shadows creep in, and he imagines paparazzi strangling him. Shaken, he calls his mother to wish her a happy birthday, but Marco barges in, forcing him to hang up. Marco tells him he'd sacrifice his life for athletes like Cameron, insisting he must keep training. Later in the sauna, Isaiah opens up about his past, the locker rooms, the fans, the fame. But his tone turns dark. He warns Cameron not to climb the ladder of greatness blindly, not to make the same mistakes he did. Moments later, Cameron is suddenly attacked by a woman holding a stone. In panic, he defends himself and ends up killing her. Isaiah rushes in, acting as if he saved Cameron. But something about his reaction feels off. Confused, Cameron confides in Elise, who dismisses his fears, claiming her brother just seems odd to outsiders. To ease his mind, she invites Cameron to an extravagant party, where they dance and drink until sunrise. But the next morning, Isaiah storms into Cameron's room with a gun, demanding to know if he slept with Elise. Cameron denies it and tries to calm him down, reminding Isaiah about his own high school sweetheart. Isaiah's cold reply cuts deep. Don't care about anyone's feelings. Only football matters. With training finally complete, Cameron sits for a big interview. Midway through, emotions overwhelm him. He breaks down, confessing that he feels he's failed his late father by almost through tears. He promises to keep playing in his father's memory. Later, Elise prepares him for a grand celebration, a private event attended by the Savior's top officials and team owners. They ask if he's ready to take the next step. Cameron nods, drinks his wine, and begins to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, Elise betrays Marco, offering him up as a sacrifice in a dark, mysterious ritual. The next scene opens with Cameron lying weak and motionless on a bed. A syringe appears before him, and as the injection pierces his skin, something strange begins to happen. His veins tense, his eyes darken, and a wave of eerie transformation runs through his body. Summoning every ounce of strength, Cameron rises and storms toward Isaiah, fueled by fury and betrayal. Inside Isaiah's private room, he finds something horrifying, a collection of old jerseys, each belonging to legendary quarterbacks who mysteriously vanished. In that moment, the truth hits him. Isaiah had been prolonging his career by transfusing the blood of fallen players, stealing their strength and skill to keep himself unbeatable. Isaiah steps forward, eyes burning with madness. Let's finish this, he growls. Whoever wins walks through the tunnel and onto the field. The fight explodes. Cameron throws powerful punches, but Isaiah overpowers him, snapping his arm with brutal force. Cameron screams in pain, yet his rage keeps him standing. Through gritted teeth, he snarls. The opposite of a savior is a destroyer, fueled by a monstrous surge of energy. Cameron smashes Isaiah's skull repeatedly with a helmet until his mentor lies lifeless on the floor, shaking and bloodied. Cameron stumbles through a doorway that leads into a hidden chamber. Waiting for him are Elise and the Savior's top executives, all standing beside a table with a new contract. That's when the true nightmare unfolds. They're all part of a secret cult. The rules are simple. Anyone who survives Isaiah's challenge becomes part of their brotherhood of champions. They urge him to sign the contract. But as the puzzle pieces click in his mind, Cameron realizes the horrifying truth. His entire life, that the fame, the injury, Even his father's death had all been part of their plan. His father had been sacrificed for this same twisted ritual. Overcome with fury, Cameron refuses to be their next pawn. He unleashes his wrath, slicing through the guards one by one, driving a knife deep into Elise's neck, and tearing through the executives in a brutal frenzy. Finally, he confronts the CEO of the Saviors, the mastermind behind it all. Without hesitation, Cameron decapitates him, ending the madness once and for all. As he walks away from the blood-soaked chamber, Cameron whispers the same words his father once told him. No guts. No glory.